Hey guys, it's Blockchain Bernie with my latest episode. We are seeing a proliferation of layer 2 networks, L2 networks, and also side chains, mostly on the Ethereum chain. In this episode, I'll dive into that for you. I'll explain what is the L2, what is a side chain, what's the difference between it. I will also give you a little bit of insight on are there anything in the middle ground that are kind of in the middle of L2s and sidechains. So that will be really interesting. And then I will dive into why are these things so important on the Ethereum chain and what does that mean for the Solana chain? Will we have L2s? Will we have sidechains? Or will we have that middle ground that I just teased? Will we have that on the Solana chain? So make sure you watch it all the way to the end. So let's start with L2s and side chains. What is the difference? Let me give you a few examples first so that you see these things are really out there in the world. There is the Liquid network and there is XDAI. So both of these are examples for side chains. And obviously for L2s, you might be familiar with all the ones. Polygon is a very popular one on top of Ethereum. And the Lightning Network is a popular L2 on top of Bitcoin. So lots of things are going on out there. And what is all that stuff? Well, all of these L2s and side chains, they serve one purpose. And that one purpose is called scalability. Scalability is super important because when we build public blockchains, we build them for the public. We build them for mass adoption. And, only when everyone is using blockchain technology and crypto, then we have the real value, right? Think about fiat money as the US dollar. It has that value because everyone's using it, everyone's accepting it. If I would create a currency that only 1% of the population would use, well, the value of that would be quite limited, wouldn't it? So, yeah, so why do we need all these scaling solutions, the L2s and the side chains that I talked about? Well, basically, we need them mostly. We see it mostly on the Ethereum chain because the Ethereum chain is widely adopted and it has limited block space. It has limited scalability, right? So the Ethereum chain as is, it doesn't have a parallel runtime. So it needs to execute all smart contracts one after the other. And it needs synchronization between all the nodes and all the validator nodes in order to just synchronize the clock. And those are two things that limit the scalability of the Ethereum chain. And, Ethereum has been working a lot on scaling things. Sharding is one of the things that they're working on. But also there have been these layer 2s coming up. And a layer 2 is something that uses the security layer of the underlying blockchain, right? So Polygon as a popular example of a ZK rollup. It's one flavor of L2s. It's using the security layer of the underlying Ethereum chain. And Optimism as an optimistic rollup, which is another form of an L2. On Ethereum, it's using the underlying security layer of the Ethereum chain. Whereas side chains like XDAI that I mentioned or the Liquid network, they are kind of a blockchain of their own with their own consensus mechanism and their own security layer, right? But they offer a scalability and scaling as well. So by the way, if you like content like this, don't forget to give me that like button so that I can keep producing this valuable content. And there will be more videos about L2s, rollups, and all these things, side chains, and how they can be applied to the Solana chain. So if you want to see that content as well, Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and also hit that bell notification to get notified when these new videos come out. All right, so back to L2s and sidechains. So the L2s, the layer 2s, they use the underlying security of the underlying blockchain. So they kind of batch transactions into a whole batch, and then log that to the underlying blockchain to get verified there. This sort of scaling solution actually is, and I mentioned Ethereum needs scaling, right? Ethereum needs scaling badly for two reasons. One of all, it's being adopted by a lot of people, so they have a lot of demand for transactions. But the other reason being the block space they can offer. So the supply of transactions per second that it can actually handle is quite limited, right? So these two things together make it, a big thing on the Solana chain. And scaling solutions have been pioneered on the Ethereum. I meant the Ethereum chain. Scaling solutions have been pioneered on the Ethereum chain, and lots of very, very cool technology came out of the Ethereum world, right? And that includes the ZK rollups that are mostly used by L2s today. And then there are also side chains, right? And for the L2s, all the transaction data is actually stored on chain. So that means a ZK rollup per se is not really a great solution for scaling data or storage, right? Creating a scalable storage layer, because that's what we do at Xandeum. So I'm the CEO and founder of Xandeum, and we are building that scalable storage layer for Solana, which is super exciting stuff. So if you haven't heard of Xandeum before, link is in the description, xandeum.com. Check out everything about us. So with rollups and L2s, they store all the transaction data on chain. Not a very good solution for scaling storage, right? The side chains, on the other hand, they have the data availability outside of the main chain, of the underlying chain, but they also have their own security mechanism. They don't harness the security layer of the underlying blockchain. So what we're trying to achieve here with Xandeum is build something that scales the data layer, the storage layer, right? Just extends the smart contract functionality so that we can write smart contracts on the Solana chain using a scalable storage layer, using terabyte, exabytes, petabytes of zettabytes of storage, right? And we want to harness the security layer of the Solana chain as much as possible. Actually, we want to stay, interlocked and using as much of the proven Solana chain as possible, simply because it's the most scalable blockchain in the world. That's the reason we don't see a lot of L2s on Solana, just because they have that demand also. It's actually more use for Solana transactions, for Solana dexes, as there is on Ethereum. Can you believe that? So Solana actually recently flipped Ethereum as opposed to DEX volume and all these type of things, right? So the demand for transactions is there, but also the supply of blockchain, the supply of possible transactions per second is way, way larger than it is on Ethereum. And that's the reason, as of today, there's not so many scaling solutions needed. And with the new Solana client software, Validator software that's being developed, especially the FireDancer software, we will scale up to 1 million transactions per second. So it's rather unlikely that we need pure L2s or ZK rollups on Solana as a scaling solution, simply because we can scale on the L1 itself. And that is way more comfy for everyone, right? Just because We then only have one global state machine. We can do global price discovery. We can do all these things, whereas all the L2s that are proliferating on other blockchains, just like Ethereum, they are silos, right? You're in one L2 and you can do price discovery and everything only within that L2. And if you want to see, oh, do I have a better price for this and that token within another L2, you just have to leave that L2, submit an Ethereum transaction with all the kind of time that costs and money that costs, and go to the other L2, right? So if we can scale all that within our L1, within a global state machine, and that's the term that Anatoly Yakovenko, the founder of Solana, always uses. He wants to build and has built that global state machine that is highly performant, and that is awesome, and it will become more and more performant. But the Solana chain has a serious issue. The data layer, the storage layer, does not scale that much, right? So the Solana accounts, which is their storage layer, it only scales to a certain degree, and after that it just becomes economically impossible to store terabytes, even to store gigabytes on the Solana chain. Will cost hundreds of millions, right? The Wikipedia database is 200 gigabytes. As for today, store that on chain on Solana would cost you $200 million, right? And 200 gigabytes is nothing. So all the Web 2 apps that we have out there, if we want to create Web 3 versions of these, we will need terabytes, exabytes of data, and that would just not work out. The Solana chain doesn't scale storage-wise into that territory. So that's why we're building Xandeum, the scalable storage layer for Solana. And what we're doing there is we're using that middle ground between sidechains. We don't want to do just a pure sidechain of Solana. We want to harness the security layer of Solana. We want to harness the existing validator community of Solana, which we're a part of, right? We're running our own Solana validator, have been running it for over a year now, quite successfully. And we want to harness all that. So we want to build on the security layer of the Solana chain. But of course, we don't want to store all the transaction data on chain, because then, well, that would not solve the storage scalability issue that we're trying to solve. So we're doing something in between, and that is called a Validium, right? And again, this has been pioneered in the Ethereum space. So you can read about it here, ethereum.org, en developers docs scaling Validium. Link is down in the description. And these Validiums are a middle ground between L2s and sidechains, right? And it just means the data availability is separate, and we are solving the data availability problem also by harnessing as much as we can of the actual Solana layer. We have a separate network called the EGGS network. It's the External Grouped Global Storage. This EGGS network is powered by our PNodes. The PNodes is the storage provider nodes. Those are small nodes, but big numbers, hundreds of thousands of PNodes, maybe millions of PNodes all over the world that actually do the actual storage. And they have their own consensus mechanism based on POS. So they have their own proof of stake, which also solves the Sybil attack problem, right? And with that whole network of our own, but we are creating Merkle proofs of data inclusion that will be periodically logged to the underlying Solana chain, right? So we will have the ZK proofs of the individual transactions being logged to the underlying Solana chain. And we will also have Merkle proofs of data inclusion, so that we will know that the data that's being referenced in transactions is actually included on what is stored on the PNodes network, on the storage provider network that is out there. And by the way, those PNodes, you will be able to run one of those PNodes already in Devnet It's starting really soon. And if you want to earn the real token, the future token within our Devnet already, you can buy a Pnode license for our Devnet. It's all permissionless and trustless once it goes live. But to participate in that incentivized Devnet for the Pnodes, you need to make a small contribution. It's going to cost less than $100, so it's an affordable thing. But you can get a license for running these Pnodes. We hope to get thousands of these Pnodes in our Devnet. And so if you're interested in that, really subscribe to this channel, and also go to Xandeum.com and subscribe to all the other things. We have a points program, right? So you go to Xandeum.com, top right corner of the Xandeum website, you can subscribe to our email list, you can join our Discord, you can follow us on X, aka Twitter. And for all of these things, you get points. We have a points app live. It's points.xandeum.org. You'll find it all when you go to our website. So that's all very cool stuff. And yeah, I'm excited that we can actually look into the Ethereum community and borrow some of their battle-proven concepts, right? And the Validium concept is battle-proven, right? One of the main projects out there that harness Validium is called StarkX, and we have Immutable X for NFTs running on StarkX. For example, we have DYDX for derivatives trading on StarkX. So this is all based of Validium technology. So this is battle proven. We are transferring that to the Solana chain in order to make the storage layer scalable, and we couldn't be more excited about that. There would be no other, thing in the world that I would prefer working on rather than this problem, because it's going to be a big breakthrough in the history of blockchains, and it's going to be a big breakthrough for the Solana chain as well. And we're discussing all these things with members of the Solana community. Super excited about that. And yeah, we're moving ahead fast. And if you want to stay up to date with everything we're doing and every progress we make, or don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also, this was kind of, not easily digestible for some people, right? So if you think about all this and you have any comments, right, like, just ask me how that all works, if I was too quick in explaining stuff. But it might be I was on the wrong train of thought here, and I overlooked something. If you found something like that, please leave it in the comment. And if you just want to say, hey, that was great, or it was really boring, or whatever, leave me that in the comments as well, because the comments are really important for the YouTube algorithm. We want content like this to be spread to as many people as possible. So the comments are really important, as always. So as for today, thanks so much for watching. Catch you guys later. Peace.